So, how in the world does someone go from a tiny village in post-war Austria to becoming, well, a global icon? If you ask Arnold Schwarzenegger himself, he'll tell you it all comes down to two simple but incredibly powerful rules. So let's break down his exact framework for success. Arnold kicks things off by pointing out what he sees as the biggest problem for most of us, a total lack of direction. He uses this word, drifting, just kind of floating through life without a real destination. And what happens when you drift? Well, you never really end up anywhere on purpose. It's a pretty powerful thought, isn't it?
So let's just make this personal for a second. Take a look at this question. Do you really know where you're going? Because according to Arnold, having a clear answer to this is the absolute foundation for everything else. And that leads us straight into his first and probably most critical rule. You have to have a vision. And we're not talking about some vague, fuzzy dream here. He means a detailed, honest-to-God blueprint for your life.
You know, Arnold's vision started forming in a place that was completely against it. He was born in Austria right after the war, and his parents just wanted him to live a normal, quiet life. But then, at 11, he sees a documentary about America, and boom, a spark is lit. The real game changer, though, came a bit later when he stumbled upon a magazine that gave him the whole plan.
And this was his big aha moment. Seeing the bodybuilder Reg Park on that cover wasn't just cool or inspiring, it was like a lightning bolt. Arnold saw his entire future right there, in the story of this one guy. In his own words, he said, "This is the blueprint."
And check out how specific this blueprint was. It wasn't just, I want to be a bodybuilder. No way. It was, become a champion like Reg Park. Get into movies like Reg Park. Make millions and be famous, you guessed it, like Reg Park. That clarity, that unbelievable level of detail, that's the magic right there. You'd think a goal that massive would be crushingly stressful, right? But for Arnold, it was the exact opposite. It was a relief. He knew exactly where he was going, the path was clear, all the hard work that came next, he said it actually felt easy because he knew what it was for. Okay, so let's dig into how this actually works. Because having a vision isn't just about daydreaming. Its real power is how it fuels every single thing you do and gives you an incredible sense of purpose.
Arnold points to this really wild statistic. Get this, almost 3 out of 4 people in America hate their jobs. He says this is a direct result of that drifting we talked about. You know, you take a job because you have to, not because it's part of your grand plan. That is a massive purpose gap. But for Arnold, it was the complete opposite. People would see him in the gym, grinding for 5-6 hours a day with this huge smile on his face, and they just couldn't understand it. The answer was simple, though. The gym wasn't a chore. It was where he was physically building his vision into reality. And the work was just insane. I mean, we're talking 500-pound squats, 500-pound bench presses, over and over again, and he said he couldn't wait to do the next rep, the next set. So why? It all comes down to this. In his head, every single rep, every drop of sweat, was a direct step toward becoming Mr. Universe. That connection, that link between the brutal, hard work, and his giant vision, it turned all that pain into pure progress. All right, so you've got your vision, you are fired up, and then you run smack into the next giant wall, other people. And this brings us to Arnold's second rule, ignore the naysayers. This is all about how you deal with all that negativity that's going to come your way. So Arnold had this brilliant mental trick. He didn't just block out the haters, he actually rewired his brain to translate what they said. It's amazing. When someone said, "That's impossible," his brain automatically heard, "It is possible." When they said no, he heard, "Yes." He was literally turning their negativity into his fuel. A lot of this mindset was shaped by this incredible idea from Nelson Mandela. He totally got it. Every single amazing thing in history was impossible right up until the moment some brave person went out and did it. So Arnold just decided, okay, I'm going to be that someone. And this right here is the ultimate proof of his second rule in action. He didn't just ignore the criticism, he took the things people said were his biggest weaknesses and turned them into his greatest strengths. When he first tried to get into acting, Hollywood was just brutal. They told him his body was a problem, that nobody wanted to see a guy that muscular. And they made fun of his Austrian accent relentlessly, saying he sounded like a robot. These were supposed to be his career enders. But then, look what happened. The very body they said was a liability, it became the one and only thing that mattered for Conan the Barbarian.
And that accent that sounded like a machine, yeah, that made him the only person on Earth who could have possibly played the Terminator.
I mean, you can't make this up. The director of Conan said it perfectly. Arnold's body wasn't just a good fit, it was the character. He said if Arnold didn't exist, they would have had to build him from scratch. The supposed weakness became essential.
And James Cameron, who directed The Terminator, said the exact same thing about his accent. It wasn't some flaw they had to work around. It was the secret sauce that made the character unforgettable. His two biggest liabilities became the cornerstones of his entire legendary career.
Okay, so after breaking all that down, the spotlight swings back around. This isn't just a cool story about Arnold. It's a blueprint. And the real question is, what are you going to do with it?
When you boil it all down, it comes back to these two things. First, create a vision. Not some fuzzy wish, but a crystal clear, specific goal that makes you want to jump out of bed. And second, build that mental filter. Don't just ignore the naysayers. Learn to use their doubt as your own personal rocket fuel.
And that leaves us right here. History is just a long story of people doing things that everyone else said couldn't be done. Arnold decided he was going to be one of them. So the only question left is, will you?